So good morning or good afternoon or good evening wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome Chief Production Officer at Vayner Media and Vayner Productions, Aaron Kovan. So welcome, Aaron.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Aaron, firstly, congratulations on all you have achieved. Could you please share with us how your journey started, and if you could give us some background for those of my listeners who don't know?
Yeah, I've been in advertising pretty much ever since I graduated college. I always knew I wanted to work in media and arts, and I started working in Austin, Texas. My first job out of school was a small advertising agency. I was on the client service side, but I was able to be exposed to all the different departments within the agency. I always had again, I always wanted to be doing video work and more on the creative side of things. So I quickly went up to, at that time, the current head of production of the agency and asked if there was ever any openings or any room for me to be part of that department. I would love to do that. And at that time there was, and I became a producer, an associate producer, and started working, this was back in 2006, and ever since then, just been to a couple really big agencies, been an agency producer my whole career, worked very closely with production companies, making commercials and branded content, and here I am. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Amazing journey. So Aaron, you are an award-winning executive producer and over 13 years of agency and production company experience, and you joined one of the best agencies, Vayner Media, in 2018. Can you please share with us how this came about, and having worked in other agencies, what do you believe gives you the edge over others, and what do you believe you have done differently that makes you unique in terms of your experience?
Yeah, I think I've been at Vayner for almost 2 years now. It was I've been following their rise into the industry for ever since I think they first started 10 years ago. I remember just even being a fan of Gary's and watching his content on YouTube 10 years ago, and I just saw in the past 3 or 4 years they really started doing bigger work, picking up bigger clients, doing more than just sort of social video micro content. They were actually doing stuff that was winning awards and stuff that I would be seeing on TV and stuff I'd be seeing all over the digital space. And an opportunity came for me to see what he was trying to do with production here, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. So that's how that sort of happened. And then I think as far as why I might be different than other producers or other people that do what I do in the field, I don't know if I don't think I do anything really different. A lot of my great friends and even mentors are even very well-known, award-winning executive producers as well. Yeah. And I think just sort of growing up and starting off, I just try to surround myself with really, really talented people. I think once you do that, you can learn from their craft. It makes you a better producer. I think being super passionate and really caring about the work and the project you're on makes a huge difference. I try to say I outcare anyone I'm ever around, just because making content, whether it's a 15-second video for Facebook or it's a 3-minute video that features Dwayne Wade and is all over the internet, I put my same amount of energy and how much I care into it the same. So I feel like I just really love what I do. I'm very passionate. I love the people I work with. I love being around creatives and producers and ad agency people in general. So I think it's just, I care a lot, and I think that's helped me get to where I am.
Yeah, and it probably also reflects a lot in your work as well.
Yes, Most definitely. Most definitely. I never say it's finished until I really actually see it.
Yeah, the end product.
Exactly. Exactly.
Aaron, branding and marketing has changed so much, and social media has impacted the media and advertising agency industry so much, so much. So firstly, working with Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously one of the best in terms of understanding the rapid changes. What do you believe to be different working for Vayner Media and in a world where we are bombarded with so many messages and so much coming at us all the time on all these different platforms? What do you believe that Vayner does differently to engage your client's audience, and can you give us an example of this?
I think, we have different offerings that are very, I would say, non-traditional compared to most of the bigger agencies that are around. We do a lot more than just a 30-second TV commercial or a 60-second TV commercial. We like to produce in volume. I think one of the biggest things that why our clients like to come here or are so interested in what we have going on is because we truly believe, producing work at scale and putting 15, 30 pieces of content out a week for a brand, and also being sort of so specialized in the social media space. I mean, Gary is obviously probably one of has the biggest presence on social media out of anyone. Him and his team know how to navigate those platforms and know what works best on those platforms. And that all sort of, bleeds into us other agency people as well and how we handle our clients. So I think, that's a big difference between us and other agencies is, we produce a ton. And again, it's not just for social, it's for TV, it's for theater, it's for experiential, it's all over digital. And another reason I think a lot of clients are super into us is because we never want to do just one piece of content. Our biggest thing is, again, volume. So it's, okay, so there might be a 3-minute film we're going to be doing for Budweiser, but, at the end of the project, that 3-minute film is going to have maybe 18, 21 other pieces of content that go along with it, whether it's cut downs, whether it's still imagery, whether it's GIFs, all out of the same content. I hate to use this word, but it's, it's almost like a matching luggage sort of thing where, you're getting one piece of content cut up into 20 different other pieces, and we could put all those pieces out on different platforms, IG, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and produce that way.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's also, it's obviously a very smart way of doing it because, like you say, some agencies it's just focused purely on TV or radio or the standard traditional outlet. So I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. So social media is wonderful and has many benefits, but there's also a negative association. What do you believe can be done better, and do you believe that brands are shifting fast enough to use these platforms responsibly, and what do you believe can be done better?
I think it's just maximizing, making sure your message is tailored to the platform you're running it on. Just because you want to make one piece of social video, let's say, for a brand, doesn't mean that message is going to work across all platforms. Each platform has a different demographic. Each platform has certain things that work better on others. So it's really, I feel like, studying the best practices of each platform and making your content towards that.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. So you've had an incredible career working with some major blue chip brands like BMW, Southwest Airlines, Burger King, and Microsoft, to name a few, which is massively impressive. But what would you say in your role as a producer have been some of the biggest lessons and learning? And as consumers are becoming more and more aware and consumer conscious, and not necessarily just buying into advertising, do you believe that these major companies are adapting and listening to the consumer? And how do you believe this is is changing in the industry as a collective?
I think consumers are definitely looking at brands to, have a clear message, and also to, and do their part, and be approachable, and do like charity, not charity
Philanthropy.
work. Yeah, philanthropy type of work. I feel like it's very important. Microsoft's a great example where, they do a big program with Girls Who Code, and it's science, it's females, it's, young, like empowering young children to be, part of our future, and be our future. So I think, like, advertising like that, and real people, real stories, I feel really resonate well with consumers. I think, look, I think comedy and disbelief as well, but, I do think when brands can be honest and true, and be very transparent, I think that's when consumers, have the trust, and engage.
Absolutely, agree with you on that for sure. Um, so, you were appointed prior to your current role EVP of McCann World Group, and oversaw and integrated a department of 20 producers and creators. This requires leadership. What do you believe to be different about your leadership style? And has this helped you in terms of your current role as Chief Production Officer at Vayner Media and Vayner Production?
Yeah, I mean, I would describe my leadership style as very, I hands off. I'm by no means a micromanager.
Yes.
But again, I do really like production, and and it's important to me that I am involved in some sort of way on every single project. I think, I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel like I have a lot to add, and I can still, infect every project that comes through here.
Yes.
So it was actually probably even a harder thing for me to make the leap to a manager / head of production, because I really, really loved producing,
Yes.
and being in the weeds of it. But again, I like to grow a department. I like to, empower producers to make the right decisions, and make their own decisions, and work closely with creatives.
Yes.
So, but again, I think my leadership style is hands off and approachable, and work hard, play hard mentality.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people don't like to be micromanaged either, so makes
Right.
sense. So let's talk about the production and producing aspect, which is what you truly love and have a passion for. Can you please share with us more about the process? You are constantly pushing production frontiers, from bigger picture to brand-centric content and overall brand messaging, as well as helping agencies and clients shift to new media landscapes. Can you please share with us a little more about this? And how do you handle resistance to change in an industry that has done the same thing for decades? And can you give us an example?
I think it's for, like, just to stay, like, relevant, and to always be trying to, raise the bar on production. I believe it's always searching and trying to find the new up and coming talent out there. I mean, I deal a lot with directors and editors and visual effects artists. I mean, so I'm always have my finger on the pulse on, who's coming up, who's new, who's starting to really blow up their reel, who's starting to really get engaged in different types of unique pieces of work. So I feel like that is, a huge part of how I just try to always stay ahead of everything, and then I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question there?
So how do you handle resistance to change in an industry that has done the same thing for decades? And if you can give us an example. So, for example, like a typical ad agency that's only really ever stuck with like radio or TV. How, as Gary often talks about, because I obviously follow his content as well. How do you kind of change the mindset to using more of the social platforms?
Yeah, I think I think for us, it's really, it's really partnering with some of these social platforms, right? I mean, we probably have Facebook and Twitter and YouTube in here, maybe once or twice a month, and we just go over all their, recent findings, their best practices. So we're always, we can obviously easily do a 30-second, 60-second broadcast TV commercial, but, it's really a craft to be able to figure out what's sort of the best type of content, what's the best kind of content, for a certain platform, right? Like, what plays well on IG, what plays well on Twitter, and really working with creative teams and making sure that, we're adhering to the best practices and making, the best content for those platforms. So I feel like that's a little bit of an edge that we have. I don't think a lot of other agencies are quite doing it as much as we are right now. And then, again, we're also, it's also not always just about video. Like, we've done a couple of experiential things in the past, 6 months that have been really successful. We did, a pop-up shop for, Planters cheese balls, where we were giving away fleece cheese balls. We had a huge, oversized can of cheese balls. It was an amazing event in New York City. We did one for Maxwell House Coffee a couple months ago that was hugely successful. So, we're not only doing just video content, but we're also doing experiential events, activations as well.
Wow, that's really amazing. So you're a problem solver with a love for impactful brand work. What would you say have been some of your biggest career highlights? And do you believe that being an award-winning producer has helped you open the door to other career opportunities that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think just recently we had three pieces of content, 3 TV commercials in the Super Bowl. So 2 nights ago.
Well
so that
done.
was yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was exciting and awesome, and that's definitely a career highlight of mine. I mean, I've had often a few times had 1 spot, but this is having 3, which is amazing. So that felt great. And I think I'm just very fortunate that I've worked with some of the best people in the industry, some really great creatives. And I've been able to produce some really, really great work with them, and that's just sort of been able to open up doors, in my career. I mean, I think producers are really looked at about, like, who have you worked with, and what's the work you've produced, and how does it look, and how long you've been doing it. And I can't do that all by myself. It does it takes a team. So I've just been really lucky to work with really good teams that have helped advance my career.
So what are the proudest works that you have produced over your career? And was there one specific turning point for you, or was it a combination of things?
I think it's a combination of things. I think some of my favorite pieces of work is last year we did for Budweiser, This Bud's for 3, and that was a Dwayne Wade piece, which is amazing. And then we also did, in my career, I think maybe a BMW project I did called Unscripted, which is a series of videos about real people who own BMWs and have, an affinity for them in all different ways. And, that's when I was just a young up-and-coming producer, So there's been so many projects that are my favorites or my babies that I will always cherish. Yeah, for sure.
So what are the 3 key pieces of advice that you would give to those who would like to get into the industry as producers and creators?
Yeah, I think it's like, love what you do, be passionate about it, make sure it's what you want to wake up every morning and do. I think that's number 1, because if you're not going to like it and love it and wake up every morning hungry to keep doing it, it might not be the right thing. I think also just being relevant and studying and keeping up with all the upcoming and talent in our industry, whether it's directors, editors, designers, visual effects artists. And I think also, just being very, tuned in to what our industry is doing, what other agencies are doing, what other brands they're picking up, new business they're winning, what types of spots they're producing, what type of content. I think just, immersing yourself in the industry of advertising and marketing is only going to help you become a better at what you do, because then you're fully aware of what's around you. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So that leads me to the final question. What is your ultimate vision in your current role at Vayner Media and Vayner Productions, as well as what legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be, Vayner's new, 10 years old. I feel like we're just getting started. I think 2020 this year could be a very big turning point for us. I think this is the year in 5 years when you look back and you're like, wow, 2020 is when Vayner really started, making the turn and being super, super successful. So, my vision for the department and what we do is just being, getting more brands, getting new business, producing results for our clients, business results. It's one thing to win an award. It's one thing to have a great looking ad. But if it's not really tied back to, doing positive business results for the clients, it might not mean anything, to be honest, at the end of the day. So, yeah, I just want to be, the biggest, most successful agency in the world. And I want to have a staff of 100 producers around the world and just dominate.
Yes. Well, thanks so much, Aaron, for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope we can have you back in the future to see where you are. But thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. This is a great pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.